Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. Want to welcome back to the program the proprietor of the Uber blog Hullabaloo and the commentator or writer, essayist at salon.com. Digby, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Happy Friday.
Yes. Well, let's talk about some fun stuff up front, and then we've got some grimmer stuff to talk about. I mean, it's been pretty grim over the past, even since the last time you've been on, the passage of that big bill, the rescission package that happened, the Genius Act passed. Want to get into like those things and what you feel the Democrats are doing about it too. But first, let's talk about this Epstein thing because it's sort of fascinating. Here is, I want to play this clip from Harry Enton on CNN. And it shows that Donald Trump's polling amongst Republicans, just to be clear, this is just Republicans, has not been hurt by this Epstein, MAGA saga, as we call it. Here we go.
I mean, look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% were Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex or close there too in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real in real life.
Who knew?
Amazing.
Twitter and X are not reality.
Pause it for 1 second. Pause it for 1 second. That's incidentally not what it proves. It just proves that there might be other people besides Republicans online. But nevertheless, let's just keep going.
But the margin of error is 6. Like, I don't understand the framing of. I'm not saying that Trump's supporters are going to abandon him. I'm not saying that, but it's a very odd framing when it's both of these are within the margin of error to frame that he's increased his support.
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, if the poll had said he's losing 3 points a poll, we wouldn't be talking about it now. But let's keep playing this.
Complaints or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real in real life.
No, I didn't.
Amazing.
Twitter and X are not reality.
Is there any reason that you can find that this hasn't taken hold and hurt him?
Yeah. I mean, on X, all you hear about is the Epstein files. But how about out in the real public? Republicans who said the top issue was Epstein case. The answer is one, and not 1%. One responded. This was a great little finding that Ariel Edwards-Levy, who of course is part of our polling unit, found. Just one single Republican said that the nation's top problem is in fact the Epstein case. Not much of a surprise that therefore Donald Trump's approval rating has not suffered with Republicans because of the Epstein case. Because the bottom line is most Americans say it's not high up on their priority.
Now, I have no doubt that it's not up on their priority list, but it is important. It's sort of an interesting narrative that they're trying to push here. But let's put up the graph of Trump's actual approval rating. It appears there's more than just Republicans in the country. I mean, it's not going well for him. It really isn't. I mean, he's and this is the poll average. His disapproval is about as high as it's gotten.
Could you just scroll up quickly to see which polls are also included in this as well? I mean, Rasmussen is a joke, and that's included in the average. So right there, there are some junk Republican polls that have kind of, I think, proliferated over the past maybe 2 presidential election cycles. But yeah,
definitely. But nevertheless, his approval rating appears to be, going down, not dramatically, but So Heather, like, give me your sense of like what interests me about this is why are all the right winger media people still pursuing this? Like, how come they haven't been able to get past this?
Well, I mean, I don't know what to make of the Harry Enton stuff. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Not because I don't. I mean, we've seen this before. When Bill Clinton was under, the scrutiny for over the Monica Lewinsky thing, his poll ratings went up. They went up substantially, and not just with Democrats. They went up among everybody who felt that it was kind of a media created scandal and that people were making too much of it. And of course, the country was doing very well at the time. Economically, things were going well. People did not want to rock the boat. I mean, it was a very different sort of circumstance, but the same thing kind of happened. So I guess that part of it doesn't really surprise me, that Republicans would sort of do a quick rally around the flag kind of thing, especially for Trump. The media, though, I think that there is a sense among the right-wing media, and this is, starting with the influencers on the right, who I think have much more clout than people give them credit for, among the mainstream right-wing media, meaning Fox or, I don't know, the New York Post or whatever. Although I would have said the Wall Street Journal until a few days ago, or maybe last night. But they know that the MAGA movement they are dependent on it. These influencers are dependent on what we think of as the MAGA movement, which is very, very online. It's very, very much concerned with these kind of things. And they do care about this. And, we'll see whether or not this kind of emphasis on it, people like Alex Jones, people like Joe Rogan, people like, what's her name, Libs of TikTok or Laura Loomer, or, these kind of people who we look at and go, why is anybody paying attention to these people? They do have a following that it seems to me pretty clearly that there are plenty of people who are very worried about that following. And that following is where their money is made. And honestly, that's where I think down in Bongino was this past week. I mean, just to recap, Bongino was in the midst of this whole release by the Department of Justice saying that the Epstein files is nothing. We found nothing. Case closed. Let's move on. And Bongino reportedly was very upset by this. Now, I don't know if that's actually what happened, because what I read, and I can't remember where I read this, but I think it may make a little more sense than what people are saying, was that he was being blamed for leaks that went to the press, because they leaked that memo, and he was being blamed for it and got very upset with Pam Bondi, and they had a screaming fight in the White House, and Bongino didn't go to work the next day, and they thought he was going to quit, et cetera, et cetera. Bongino is a creature of this influencer world on the right. That is what he is. That is his life. He misses it. Obviously, he said so. He doesn't really like his job. He liked being a podcaster, and he also made a boatload of money doing it. He made a lot of money, and all these people made a lot of money doing it. Having this thing out there, this is going straight directly to their financial bottom line, is this Epstein thing. They made money on it to begin with. They will make money. They will lose money if it disappears. There's a whole lot of incentives there for them to, be at least concerned with it, if not obsessed with it. So I think that that's part of it. I don't know it's a full explanation, but I think that it's a big part of it. I mean, I really felt from the beginning when I saw that Bongino was thinking of quitting, I'm going, he wants to go back. He's preserving his ability to make a lot of money. And he doesn't want to be caught up in some cover up of, Epstein.
Well, this is the thing that I think is really important about this story. And regardless of your feelings about, I still think it's just incredible that it's not being screamed from the rooftops that they edited out 3 minutes of that supposedly raw footage that they released. That's insane. And the incompetence is insane too. Mm-hmm. But what it hits at is the Democrats for Trump for the past 10 years have enabled this narrative of Trump being an outsider who is combating the elites. That's how he won in 2016. The deep state, right? And they've continued down that course with the MAGA extremists. You hear this every time from frickin' Hakeem Jeffries on TV, now calling them Republicans, tying him to the establishment of the party. What this does for his base is it makes it look like he's covering up for the amorphous elites that they've been talking about him combating. And so I am skeptical that this is not going to actually hurt him, at least a little bit.
I am too.
And so I found the inclusion of like saying he increases support with a 6-point margin of error to be a little weird, because it may take a little bit longer, and the hardcore MAGAs, Republicans, they'll always be with him. But what this really hurts him with are like the bro manosphere people who voted for him after, you know, Taylor Lorenz did this piece about how in the aftermath of the pandemic, 2020 on, there wasn't this divide between the online world and the traditional political world that used to exist. Podcasts exploded. All of these right-wingers started to consume this kind of media as well, including like anti-vax stuff and more conspiracism. And that's where I think this could cause an issue for him, is in this new media ecosystem.
Well, there's no doubt. And I think also, I mean, keep in mind, there was some fraying around the edges before the Epstein thing happened in that manosphere group. There was Joe Rogan was complaining about the immigration thing, saying, hey, I didn't know they were going to do that. They weren't going to go after guys working at, you know, as gardeners and at Home Depot. I thought it was going to be the worst of the worst. This guy, what's his name? Adam Schultz? Is it Adam Schultz? Andrew, sorry. Yeah, Andrew Schultz. I mean, he was kind of going on and showing some skepticism and kind of going, you know what, this isn't really what I thought it was going to be. So then along comes the Epstein thing, and it's exactly what you said, Emma. They had they had based everything on this idea of him being the guy who was going to clean up this cabal of whatever among the Epstein, and you know, there's a direct line between QAnon and Epstein. Obviously, it's about this international pedophile cabal, and that they, you know, when Epstein came along, all those QAnon people went, Eureka! There it is, the proof. Here's the big pedophile, and he was flying around with Clinton and had, you know, Ehud Barak and the Mossad. You know, this was a perfect conspiracy theory for them to latch onto. So, you know, there's that, you know, that kind of hardcore there among the MAGA faithful, that actually for them, this is it. I mean, I think Glenn Beck called it the Rosetta Stone of the MAGA movement, was the Epstein files.
I would like to see what the polling is on Pam Bondi, because I think to a certain extent we could be in that stage where it's like Donald Trump is getting screwed by his advisors, and they're, you know, like Pam Bondi could be part of the deep state, and but I think the point you guys are making about this Epstein thing being less about Donald Trump being a pedophile and more about him not cleaning the swamp and protecting people, I don't think it's landed on him yet. I think it's on Pam Bondi, and frankly, like, I'm okay with that insofar as like make them fire Pam Bondi, make them hire, you know, a new Department of Justice. I mean, that to me ultimately is the value of this whole scandal, is just how can it like make it more difficult for them to govern.
And I think that the next step, though, I don't think they're going to fire Bondi right away. The next step will be a special prosecutor, and you guys aren't going to believe who they're talking about among the MAGA people. As
Laura Loomer will be the special prosecutor.
It's even wilder than that, although that would be good. They're thinking that the one that is most obvious to choose is Matt Gaetz. They're actually saying that. That's not a joke. I looked it up. And you know, they're right, because when it comes to underage sex trafficking, that guy knows his stuff. He really is an expert.
You got to know exactly what you're looking at.
I have no doubt that guy knows what he's doing when it comes to that. So, you know, I mean, that's a real thing. They're actually talking about it. So, you know, this is, I think there are several steps here. And I actually thought about this the other day. I thought, you know, what we're dealing with, Trump is finally dealing with the Clinton rules. The Clinton rules are when a scandal like this comes along, which is always something sexy. It's got some sexy thing going on, whether it was Clinton back in the day, or I don't know, Anthony Weiner, or, you know, you know, the right wing is a dog with a bone on this. They love this stuff. They love it. They love it. They won't admit that they love it, but that's what it is. And they're not going to let it go. So every time you do something, and I don't think Trump has learned this, because if he had learned this, he would not be feeding it the way he is. You know, he's insulting his followers. He's saying this is all nonsense, it's a hoax and whatever. If you do that, it just fans the flames. And that's Clinton rules. And the next step is we're going to do something. We'll name a special prosecutor. We'll fire Dan Bongino, or Dan Bongino will quit. Or, you know, there's these steps that you go through. Oh, he already started. He said that, you know, we're going to release the grand jury transcripts. And in the process,
well, the ones that are relevant,
the ones that are relevant, the credible ones, not the ones that had to do with, you know, anything to do with me.
The beautiful ones.
Yeah, the beautiful, the perfect ones. So he's already started. And by the way, in the process of that, he also, you know, proved that he's ordering the Department of Justice to do stuff, which the president isn't supposed to do. And he's claimed, oh, I have nothing to do with it. And then he orders Pam Bondi, and she goes, yes, sir, we're on it right there. We'll do it in the morning. So that's you start doing these steps. It's never enough, right? Never enough. There will always be a next step. It will always be something else that they're going to need. So the scandal isn't going to die as long as they're doing this stuff. And then you've got people like the Wall Street Journal. Now, the Wall Street Journal has, you know, a following of a very special, discrete part of the Republican coalition called people with money. Mm-hmm. And Trump's already got some issues there, right? I mean, you know, they got their tax cuts. That's done.
Right.
It's over.
Now they're just
got
like,
him.
We're done. We got what we wanted.
Thanks,
thank you.
Thanks.
They're worried about the tariffs and the markets and yeah, it's
they've
interesting.
got their own stuff going on.
See, that's what I think is going on here on some level. That's the thing that makes this different, right? Like, I mean, I get the idea of that this is a very easy thing to talk about, and it's got intrigue, and it's not really political, and you know, except for we should also say Ron Wyden has a whole nother front of this, which is about the finance, and which I think ultimately could be more important.
I do too.
But I do think that this is being pushed. Like, this isn't coming from the left. I mean, I think, you know, or, you know, I should say center to the left. This isn't coming from Democrats. No. It isn't coming from, you know, the DSA. I think they're, you know, people are hopping on the bandwagon. We certainly are. But I think part of this is a function of, like, now it's time to discipline Trump. Because we got really what we want. We had the largest wealth transfer from a single piece of legislation in history. Nothing else in this administration is going to pay off the big money in the way that did. And so now it's just like, now it's time to discipline and sort of like trim his sails a little bit. And so this is getting more sort of like resonance. You know, nobody wants. The New York Times certainly doesn't, and nor would the Wall Street Journal. Like, we should focus on the gulags that are being built, or the scandal of the detention centers, or what they're doing to, you know, the mothers and grandmothers. Yes, and the cuts. No, they'll push this because this is the way that they can discipline Trump without having to get into the politics of things.
I think you're right. I mean, I hadn't thought of it that way, but I think that makes sense. That this is they're going to jump on that bandwagon. The fact that the Wall Street Journal, I mean, you know, the Wall Street Journal just has a regular journalistic enterprise. It's not that bad. I mean, in the straight reporting that they do, it tends to be as good as anything. It's not any worse anyway. The editorial page is a totally different story. But this was surprising that they would be the outlet that would publish that story from last night about the letter. You don't think so, Emma? What?
No. I just think you kind of sparked something, just a theory. Like, they've been getting all the scoops, and the New York Times has been getting nothing. Maggie Haberman is reduced to going on CNN to give her extremely dry opinions about the Trump administration because, I just find, like, her background, her parents were like PR fixers for the Trumps, and then she gets all these sources and gets hailed as the savior of journalism. Anyway, but she's not getting anything anymore because they're all vindictive and they don't trust the Times. So the Wall Street Journal's been getting leaks from what it looked like Rubio about certain, like the stuff with Elon Musk and the fights. It sounded like Rubio or Besant talking to them. I could see Bongino being the guy behind this because
Besant. I mean, this could be. I mean, look, this could be you know, right now we've got a deadline looming in 2 or 3 weeks that I think most people who follow the economy think this is going to really could seriously derail the economy, and also the firing of Powell. And so there's a lot of incentive for people who are close to the Wall Street Journal, you know, who would have those relationships to, I don't know, trim Donald Trump's sales.
And the other theory Sam and I were talking about before the show, just throwing this out there, I don't think Bongino and Kash Patel are the guys editing the Epstein video in Adobe. Someone left 15 markers at the time that they cut as a door looked like it was going to be open near Epstein's cell. Take with that what you will. But Wired found that metadata that was left there as breadcrumbs, or it's incompetence or it's breadcrumbs. It's one of the two.
Well, and I had heard, you know, that obviously, I mean, when I read that article in Wired, I'm going, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. I mean, this is so, nothing could spur conspiracy theories more than something like that. And yet there it is. And you would have thought that if they really wanted to shut this down, that would have been something they would have, you know, said, I want get Elon in here and his, you know, top Doge boys. I want them to look at this before we put this out to make sure that everything's.
I feel like the FBI forensics people know how to get rid of metadata.
I think they're pretty good. Yeah, I think they are too. And by the way,
if they want to,
but not this time.
No, for whatever reason, whatever. Send it out there; it'll be fine. You know, nobody will look at that. You know?
Or maybe I think Emma's point is they will look at it.
Yes, exactly.
Like, you know. If I'm the guy in the forensics department at the FBI, I know how to make it look like there's more here, whether there is or isn't. And
I mean, who would have had access to the notebook that the birthday book that they gave to the Wall Street Journal to look at, other than people who were doing that investigation that had access to that information? And by the way, apparently, and you know, I think this has been underreported. They sent, in the quote investigation, they sent a bunch of FBI agents and various people in the DOJ, attorneys, to some off-site, institution somewhere, I guess in Virginia, to look at all that stuff, to look at everything. They were all sitting there looking at the child porn and Jeffrey Epstein and all that stuff. And so who knows how many, you know, I mean, the pressure on the Department of Justice and FBI, they put a guy in to run the FBI, Kash Patel, who talked about the FBI like they were a bunch of criminals for years. Every FBI agent, in fact, somebody said, you know, they were complaining that, you know, we're going to find out if any FBI agent ever said anything derogatory about Donald Trump, they'll be fired. And some guy who worked at the FBI, former FBI agent, said, well, that means every single FBI agent is going to be fired, because there's not one who hasn't said derogatory things about Kash Patel and Donald Trump, because of the fact that they were blaming the FBI for years for everything. They treated them like garbage. So, you know, you put those guys on this story, it is not surprising that someone might leak that. And of course, you're absolutely right. Leaking it to the Wall Street Journal makes perfect sense. There are huge incentives. And, you know, some of these people might be right wingers, too. I mean, I would assume, you'd assume they have to be, right? I mean, who are the liberals in the FBI? They didn't exist in the first place. And in the administration itself, in the White House. I mean, there might be, you know, in the first administration, there were plenty who were leaking all over the place. And as you say, they're leaking to right-wing organizations, not to mainstream New York Times or Washington Post. So there's a lot going on there. And I think you're so right, Sam, about this idea that the Jay Powell thing. I think that absolutely sent shockwaves because Trump is acting out of control, right? I mean, he is just so drunk with power, or kind of losing his mind a little bit, or some combination, that I think they're afraid that he could fire Powell on a whim.
And crash the
wake up in the
market.
morning, just do it. Yeah, and just crash the market and just do it. The tariff thing, I think, something like the thing that he did with Brazil, right? Putting a 50% tariff on Brazil over his buddy Bolsonaro, which makes no economic, even in his twisted economic logic, it makes no sense. This is just, I'm doing it because I can, because they're persecuting my buddy. That had to start worrying some of the money people. They've got their tax cuts, so
Right.
they're fine. And now they've got to start looking at the big picture. What's happening? What is going to happen to the global economy if this guy really is so drunk with power that he's doing things like that? And then he said, and he went to the Republicans, and this did happen this week, with a piece of paper in which he said that this was the firing memo of Jay Powell, and he showed it to the Republicans in Congress. And he said, should I do it or not? And he showed that, and they all were suddenly telling everybody. They went out, the market went boom, it sunk like a stone. And then he was asked about it in the meeting at the cabinet with whoever or in the meeting in the White House. And he said, oh no, I don't think we'll be doing that. And the market went back up. Okay, clearly that is, I don't know if he was testing anything, but I don't think he was. I think he was thinking about it. He wanted to do it. And they told him the market just sank and he decided to go back up. But that's what they're worried about. That is what they are worried about. They want to put Kevin Hassett or somebody like, I wouldn't be surprised if he names Peter Navarro to run the Fed. And that's death to the global economy if that happens.
Or Ron, what is it?
Matt
Varyn?
was just making that joke off mic.
What's his name? Ron Vera.
Ron Varyn is going to be.
Yeah, he's going to be Navarro will still be at the White House advising, but Ron Vera will be the head of the Fed. I wouldn't be surprised. He's that inconsistent. What's the word I'm looking for? He's nuts. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. So yeah.
We had a lot more that we want to talk about, but let's talk about it more sort of like more broadly. You have a great piece on the cuts to biomedical research.
Yeah.
That are going to both inhibit the development of new medicines, new treatments. It's also going to drive a lot of scientists out of the country. It's already happening, frankly, at this point. Like we're going to be subject to a brain drain. It's also going to drive a bunch of capital that would invest in these things out of the country into different countries. On and on.
We had the envy of the world. Our biomedical research institutions were the envy of the world. There was a lot of money put into it, went through universities. Much of that is being dried up because of the, Trump's agenda to get rid of DEI. And in the midst of it, he's getting rid of cancer research for some reason. Then what they're doing at the National
Black people get cancer? Yes.
No.
So let's get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need to talk about that. The NIH, you had Bobby Kennedy and Dr. Oz and Dr. Makary, the head of the new FDA, coming out and saying ridiculous things all week about how, it's our patriotic duty to stay healthy and we shouldn't eat carrot cake. Literally, that's what Dr. Oz said. People have to stop eating carrot cake because and eat healthy, eat real food, he said.
The patriotic duty to remain healthy, honestly, I start hearing Uber Alles playing in the background when that kind of talk starts happening.
Me too.
It's
that's
also
exactly
what Michelle
what
Obama said, and they called her a communist or whatever.
Well, and all she wanted
didn't
was
put it as it's our patriotic duty. That's the thing. That's the
No.
weird part about it.
And if you don't stay healthy, that means you're not a patriot, right?
Yeah.
So if you get sick,
because this is
you've betrayed the country.
That's like the baby steps towards eugenics.
Yes.
That's
Absolutely. And that Donald Trump is he's a eugenicist for sure. Apparently Bobby Kennedy is too. And this group is, this is what they're pushing now, is this idea you need to stay healthy and, you need to go to work. If you want to get health care, you better work for it. You don't deserve it if you're not contributing something. This whole idea is very terrifying. And meanwhile, they are cutting all of this research. The National Institute of Health is going to cut 40% of its budget. And there are all these studies. Now, the one that I concentrated in my piece is the one that just absolutely makes my skin crawl. the mRNA platform that has been developed, it's been developed over the last 20 years or so, a couple of decades. And it just happened to have been really coming online when COVID hit. And of course, they were ready to develop those vaccines, which saved a ton of lives all over the world. Millions and millions of lives were saved that would have died if they hadn't had the vaccines. They may have gotten COVID, they may have gotten sick, but they didn't die. They didn't go to the hospital. Okay, miracle, right? Happened just overnight. Even Donald Trump was the guy who signed the paper. You know, they put the pen in his hand and he signed it to do to warp speed, program. Well, mRNA is it is a potential game changer in medicine. It's a vaccine that they are looking at, this platform that is curing. They really believe that it has the potential to cure a huge number of diseases, cancer among them. They've done a study recently about pancreatic cancer, one of the most deadly cancer, I would say, because it's not discovered usually until it's too late. It has the potential to cure. They cured a number of people of pancreatic cancer with this. Okay, we're still in the early stages, but they're talking about it.
I know some people working on this type of, specifically on mRNA technology. They've been doing this obviously for 10 years, I think, or so or more, in terms of cancer.
I mean, and in terms of Alzheimer's, in terms of heart disease. It is a potential, huge. It could be, the discovery of the century. It is that big of a possibility of doing this. Now, I don't know anybody in America who doesn't have. We're all going, as Joni Ernst said, we're all going to die, right? And many of us are going to get sick with these diseases, and many of us have family members who already are. Many of us have it and are dealing with it. You want a kitchen table issue, America? Here's a kitchen table issue. If you get sick, and they've got a potential cure out there that these scientists have been working on, and they are very close to finding all kinds of breakthroughs on this. They are canceling the mRNA contracts. The NIH is. They are canceling the research that's going to these universities. Yep. They are basically ending this as something that the government is going to support. And why are they doing it? Because of these stupid conspiracy theories about mRNA because of the vaccines. That is nothing but a deep, rabbit hole that a bunch of stupid people went down, and they are benefiting from it politically. And as a result, they're canceling it. They put a bunch of cranks in. This guy, Makari Bhattacharya, who's at the NIH. You've got Oz. You've got RFK Jr. They are all right-wing extremist cranks outside of the mainstream of medical science. And I'm not saying that medical science, or love big pharma or any of the rest of it. And we all know that all of that stuff has to be carefully watched and policed, and there's too much profit motive, on and on and on. But come on. I mean, these are people who are
bathwater.
Absolutely. And it's just devastating for me. I mean, every time I read about this, so I wrote a piece about it this week. I hope people continue to talk about this. I mean, the Democrats, they want the kitchen table issues. This is one, and they should be talking about it. People care about cancer research. They really do. This is a voting issue.
The thing is, too, is that aside from the electoral power that it has, this is not something that's going to come back.
No,
if you, we just got an IM saying that, from somebody who's at the Max Planck, I think it was, Max Planck Institute in Germany, the number of American researchers applying for positions has skyrocketed.
Wouldn't you? I would if I was a researcher.
Of course.
I'd
and
get
again,
them all out.
The researchers are going to go, the capital's going to go, and you would need your head checked at the end of the Trump administration. Let's just say Trump administration ends, AOC and Bernie, and Zoran Mamdani get a co-presidency. You're still one of those entities or one of those researchers, and you're gonna be like, I'm not going back there.
No,
I'm not. I'm going to need 8, 12, 16, 20 years before I trust America again.
Before I come back.
Yeah. And I need to see,
and then maybe I'll come.
It needs to be fixed long term. I'm not moving back and forth here. I've set up a life. The money's here. You've developed relationships. I mean, this is stuff that is not going to come back. And I mean, I feel the same way about the Department of Education. I don't know how you fix this stuff because they're starting cuts right now. They're worried about September. You can't just like turn these programs back on. You can't turn on the faucet of people who work with kids with special needs or these after school programs. I mean, these are long-term sort of scars this country is going to have.
Absolutely. It's generational. It really is. It's generational.
And that's to say nothing about
USAID.
Medicaid cuts, which are also eugenicists too.
Yeah, of course. And USAID, the amount of death and destruction that is caused by that. And by the way, just to punctuate this a little bit, they did all of these things on the big beautiful bill, and then they came and last night they did the rescission on the USAID money, and of course NPR and PBS too. But the USAID money, $9 billion. Every Republican, save for a tiny handful, 2 in the Senate, and I think 3 in the House, voted for that rescission to kill USAID. Basically, that's it. The $9 billion gone. They saved PEPFAR for now, but they're going to go after it again. They saved it, but all the rest of that money for starving kids in Africa and et cetera, this is going to result in, they've done a study in the Lancet that said that 14 million people are going to die but in the next 5 years because of these cuts. 4.5 million of them are children under 5. There is blood on the hands of every one of those Republicans. And for all the bad that Democrats do, and I will say, maybe it's just a sign of how extreme these Republicans are. Not one Democrat voted for it. And there are plenty of centrists out there who want to vote for something bipartisan if they can. And they did with the Genius Bill. They did not vote for it. The Republicans own it. It is them. They are the ones who killed those people. I'm sorry, they killed them. They are mass murderers in taking this money. Meanwhile, they're spending money on gold sconces in the Oval Office and protecting Mar-a-Lago and putting a garden of wing nuts in the
hundreds
White House.
Of billions of dollars on detention centers and immigration
and building
agents.
Concentration camps. Yep. I mean so this is the priority. This is the Republicans. This is what they've done. It is not Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't vote last night. This was the Republican Party en masse. All of them voted for it. So I'm sorry, they should never be able to forget it. And all these people who are going to die of cancer because we didn't, we stopped the studies right halfway, 3/4 of the way through because they didn't want to pay for the money for it. Because some, Chaya Rachik or whatever libs of TikTok didn't like it. I mean, this is the kind of stuff. And as you say, this is not going to be easy to ever put back in place. I don't know if it ever will. I don't know that it's possible to rebuild that. This is decades upon decades. The entire post-war second half of the 20th century, they are basically throwing in the toilet and flushing it. And so we're just going to have to,
and this is the stuff. I mean, Emma mentioned the Medicaid cuts. Yeah, Medicaid. We saw you can expand it with Obamacare. Not easy to do, but it can be done because the infrastructure remains. These are things where we're going to lose the infrastructure for these things, where you can't just sort of like expand it. It's a fundamentally sort of like different relationship to it's incredibly
well, Dr. Oz is in charge and he says just don't eat carrot cake and it'll be fine. Just stay healthy for America.
It's such a weird thing to choose too. It's such a crudité comment. Like,
well, carrot cake isn't real food. I mean, who said that? I mean,
well, it was on the screen. I think they had some sort of carrot cake there in the studio.
Okay. So I mean, that makes a little more sense. I mean,
I thought, why pick
don't
that?
Don't eat, Twinkies. I can understand somebody saying, but like, don't eat.
As desserts go, carrot cake is pretty healthy, at least.
But lay off that tiramisu.
Right. Like, this is how rich people talk about healthcare. They talk about it in the way that they engage with it. And RFK Jr. is the same way, where it's like this bespoke choice, and it's libertarianism, and they have no answer for healthcare affordability because they don't even consider anything being unaffordable. They're just like, okay, I'm going to have my second homeopathic doctor prescribe this for me or whatever.
Right, exactly. And have a little organic orange juice. That's going to, that's going to solve, you get cancer, take some, cod liver oil. That works just great.
Digby, one last question. I am less inclined to believe that, frankly, the Republicans care about those 14 million people who are projected.
Right.
I don't even know that they care about the people largely who are going to die from cancer. I mean, one of the things that like COVID sort of exposed was sort of like this nihilism and like, okay, a million people, if they were sick, they, I mean, there's a eugenic, like there's a, this, but where are Democrats and like what their ability to message this stuff? I mean, the polling for Democrats is just absolutely just awful. And the Jeffries, Schumer, the messaging has just been anemic. They haven't done anything. It's all been messaging. They didn't block any bills. They could have slowed the rescission down. They, it would have been a procedural thing and it would have been slow. And they could have made it more difficult. But I mean, lawmakers are human too. And if you make things more and more difficult, people remember Fetterman whining like, I want to go home and go to July 4th celebration with my family. I mean, there's a lot of that on the Republican side as well. And I don't see them doing anything. They just keep saying hypothetically, people are going to be upset about these Medicaid cuts. Well, yeah, that's happening in 2027. It's all like, well, people are going to be upset about these hypothetical things. We're going to see the ACA. We're going to see the insurance premiums go skyrocketing at least 15% over the next year. They should be messaging these things that are actually going to be felt short term. They should be out there saying from the beginning, this bill is just nothing but a rollback of the ACA. They're going to try and destroy the, Obamacare. Yeah. They didn't do any of this stuff.
I just don't know. I feel like, part of me says, it's a very tough environment to actually be able to penetrate with anything, but then you don't really see much effort to do that. So that remains a big question mark. Are they just not? Do they just don't have any ideas? Is that what it is? They don't know how to do these things, or is it that they're just waiting? I mean, sometimes I think they're just waiting for the James Carville thing. Just let them let them shoot themselves in the foot over there, and that's all you need. And I'm not sure it is. One of the things I saw Nancy Pelosi yesterday, they were talking about the Epstein thing and, Trump being upset. And she goes and said, it's all a distraction. It's just a distraction from the kitchen table issues. We have to talk about the kitchen table issues. And it's just a distraction. I'm just sitting there going, and I mean, again, this is the part of the generational problem, right? I mean, Nancy Pelosi's in her 80s. I think maybe some of it is that they have not yet grasped that we are in a new political world. They can't seem to understand that the rules that we have lived, that they lived by for decades, I lived through it too, that just is not the way that it works anymore. There needs to be creativity. And you see something, well, you see Mamdani is a good example. I mean, he's going to face some real, it hurts my heart to think about what he's going to be faced with what they're going to throw at him. But what you do see from him is something that I don't see anywhere else in the Democratic Party, which is this kind of, hopeful joyfulness kind of thing. It's an attitude that is so much of a contrast between all the ugliness that you can't help when you look at it, you're kind of drawn into it. Just it's like a balm, a breath of fresh air. It's to me
a positive
creative
vision for the country, which when we're talking about what Jeffries and Schumer are doing, they seem to be spending more time and energy eschewing him and his movement and his overwhelming grassroots victory.
The Baileys told me to do it.
I think it's fine to go after Trump. Some people are really good at it. Let them do that.
They're going after Mamdani.
That's what I mean.
Right. Okay. Well, going after Mamdani, it's like, what are they talking about? I mean, and I don't, whatever. I mean, obviously, I think he's great, and I enjoy watching his videos. I look at that and it's almost like, I sometimes, because I have to bleach my brain because of so much horrible stuff that I have to read and look at every day, that I watch animal videos, right? I'll watch some cat videos or something. He's kind of like that for me. I will go and watch a Mamdani video and go, oh, I feel, well, I mean, people need that. And I think that's something that's creative. That's something different.
It's also, that is the style in which he maintains strength and fights.
Yeah.
Like
of course. It's not weak. It's not a weak thing at all.
Aside from Jeffries and Schumer's sort of like crappy aesthetics, they're not doing anything. They are literally just waiting. They are just waiting for Trump to implode. And I'm sorry, that just doesn't cut it. It's just so frustrating.
But they're also compromised. I mean, we should just be like, they are corrupted in a way that Mamdani is not, or AOC is not, or other members of the squad, where they can go after Trump and not piss off their donors. And that is part of the problem here, is they're incapable of standing up for the moment as leaders.
You are an anti-Semite.
You're right. I'm sorry.
it's no kings, Emma. Shut up about
Emma.
Right.
I don't know why you would say that, but the Baileys disagree. I respectfully submit. So,
God, yeah.
Heather, always a pleasure. We will link, of course, to your salon.com pieces and the Uber blog.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Digby.
Have a great weekend, guys.
You too. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.